Morning everyone, it's a great day today. It's the 1st of February and it's really sunny. I'm taking the Ribble out today for a spin. It's fantastic. The roads are dry, it's about 5 degrees so it's not too cold and not too much wind, so it's a really good day. I've been asked several times how I got into cycling, serious cycling, and I thought today I'd just tell you how that happened. It's probably quite interesting, or maybe it's not, but I'll tell you anyway. This was my first bike. Well, actually not a bike, it was a trike. I'm guessing that was probably around 1955, 56. So I'd have been about 4. Then I went on to have various other bikes. Never ever had a new one, never even thought I'd get a new one or wanted one. But they were usually cobbled together things, but they got me around. Yeah, in those days cycling was just a way of getting around or having fun. I'm sure we've all had a piece of cardboard with a clothes peg in the spokes. Wouldn't do that now, but good fun at the time. Used to do miles on our bikes, me and my lifelong friend Lionel. And I remember one day we did quite a long ride out to see somebody that Lionel knew, and it was freezing cold. Didn't have gloves, so I had a pair of socks on my hands and I was frozen. Little did I know that about 36 years later I'd be having another trike. But it wasn't a trike as you'd know it. It was this one. My wife made an error, because when I was 40 she bought me a trial microlight flight, and after about 10 minutes I was hooked, so I went on to learn to fly. Yeah, that first flight was in June 92, and in May 1993 I was awarded my PPL, which is a great moment. The longest ever water crossing I did was to the Isle of Wight, so that was about 7 miles. The one crossing I really wanted to make was the Channel, but I have to say it scared me too much, so didn't do it. In June 1998 I was rushed into hospital with a life-threatening infection, and I have to say I was mightily frightened. And as I lay there reflecting and all the things I didn't do and should have done, this cross-channel flight came up again. So I vowed that if I got out of this I would definitely cross the channel. So it was that in August 99 I made that trip, and it was with a group. There were 3 of us, and it was to celebrate the twinning of Boston in Lincolnshire with Laval in the Mayenne, France. So we made that crossing, we had a great time. We had a big dinner in the castle, we were guests of honour. It was a fantastic flight. It was quite eventful, and in fact I wrote the story up for the Microlight magazine, and if anyone's remotely interested, send me an email, I'll send you a copy. Once I realised it wasn't so daunting, I made 5 crossings of the channel. The reason it's an odd number is that I left the machine down there and did a lot of flying in France whenever I visited. So I had a great time. We've got some photos here of some of the flights in that area. The French love flyers as much as they love cyclists, so it's a great place to be. As with all the best trips, that one was about the journey rather than the arrival. I actually took 3 days over it, and just explored. I met some great people. I had some quite interesting experiences on the way as well. It's another one I wrote up for the Microlight magazine, so if you're interested, drop me an email and I'll send you the article. But that was a 600-mile trip thereabouts, and one of the highlights of my flying career. And one of the times I was flying down in France, I realised that I was getting a bit tired of it, really, I suppose. I think it was getting out of my system. I was doing the same old things, flying the same old trips. I didn't do anything sort of exciting anymore. That coincided with a French instructor asking if I'd sell my plane. Now, it's a French machine, and for some reason they sell for a lot more money over there. And he was offering me really what I paid for it. So I decided I'd sell it. Now, of course, flying doesn't really do much for your aerobic fitness. I can tell you, flying a Microlight in rough weather does give you big upper body strength, but it's not very good for aerobic capacity. So I used to go to the gym, and if I was staying away in hotels, I'd use the gym. But I actually got into Taekwondo training. Both of my sons trained and suggested I give it a go. Now, for those that haven't tried it, martial arts are excellent exercise, but they're also good for the mind as well as the body. There's a lot of discipline involved. I enjoyed every moment of it. I was awarded my black belt, first degree, but that's when it got difficult, because once you start to train for second degree black belt, you're expected to do more instructing and attend a lot more. And that wasn't easy for me, because with my work I was abroad a lot and couldn't always tell you where I'd be this time next week, so couldn't make those commitments. So I decided I would stop. I was probably at my peak fitness around this time, so it was important to me to keep the fitness up. I was using the gym but really didn't enjoy it terribly, so I decided to get my old mountain bike out a bit more. Now, I started doing 5 or 6 miles and got on quite well. Then I pushed it up to 10, and then one day I decided I'd go for the big one. I did what I thought was a really long ride. It was 20 miles, and I actually took a flask and sandwiches. Shortly after this, I was visited by a very keen road cyclist, and he suggested I should look at buying a road bike and start to get some more distance in. Now, that coincided with my eldest son buying his first road bike, so I went out and bought identical to him, a Fuji Sportif, and we started to learn to ride road bikes together. It was great. We did a lot of riding together, my son and I, and we entered some Sportifs. I remember the first one was Windsor. I think it was about 40 miles, and we were really panicking about doing 40 miles, but it was great. I remember aching a lot afterwards, but we really enjoyed ourselves. We really had the Sportif bug by now, so we entered the Ride London 46 and then the Tour de Cambridgeshire 100 in 2019, which we completed. It was at that time I made my biggest cycling mistake. I was lured by this beautiful carbon Giant Advance Pro 1 with Di2 gears. It was a thing of beauty, and the price was excellent. It was end of season. It was the only bike left in the country of that spec. So I shot down to Windsor, saw it. It was a bit big for me, for my height, but they made adjustments. They changed the gearing for me so that made it a bit easier on hills, and I bought it. But I have to say I regretted it soon afterwards. I found it quite an uncomfortable bike to ride, purely because I was stretched out too much. So it was a mistake, I did ride it for a couple of years, but then I sold it. I did lose quite a bit of money on it, but nevertheless it was better to sell it because I just wasn't enjoying cycling anymore. So that's when I bought the Ribble. When I first started cycling, I did a few club rides, and in fact I used to go out on some of the social rides, and that's where I met Paul Green for the first time. He was leading them. I enjoyed those rides, but I realised I'm not really a club rider, so I wanted to just meet up with other people, probably in ones or twos, and just go out for a gentle ride. It was about that time I had a look at the British Cycling Let's Ride page, popped in my postcode, expected to see some local riders, but nothing, nobody was there. I realised there were no leaders locally, so I decided I'd have a look into that, and I enrolled on the training course to become a leader. Quite an interesting experience. There's quite a bit of online learning to do, and it finishes off with an assessment day, and I've made some good friends from that training. And so I went on to lead rides locally once I qualified, and met lots and lots of nice people. I've enjoyed helping people get into cycling and build their confidence, so it's been quite fulfilling, really. One of the things you'll probably have noticed in my various videos is that I do take safety very seriously, and I think ahead. So things like carrying my name and address with me, planning routes, planning the shortcuts if anything goes wrong. I take a medical kit, I take space blanket, take all sorts of things according to the conditions that I'm going to be riding in. A lot of that comes from flying, as well as the ride leader training. But flying, you don't get any second chances. You can't just pull over if something goes wrong. You've got to deal with it, and deal with it quickly, and that's a lot of the training helps you with that. But cycling also is the same. So many people go out without any preparation for mending a puncture even, or just having some tools with them to get home. Some people go out without even a phone, and that can be very difficult too. So things like the What 3 Words app that I mentioned previously, that's a good thing to have with you. Make sure that you've got your name and address with you. Make sure that your blood group is written down somewhere so people know that if you're in a sudden emergency. And I have to say that I feel about cycling exactly what I felt about flying. I love it, I enjoy it. If I don't get out regularly, I get quite miserable and a bit touchy. So it's been great for me, and I'm sure it's great for many of you. For me, cycling is about enjoying the journey, enjoying the ride. I'm not out to beat any records. I don't bother with Strava apart from recording the rides. I just like to be out and, as they say, take some time to smell the roses. So whatever your riding is, whatever you like to do, I hope you continue to enjoy it. I look forward to hearing some of your stories. I hope you'll make some comments below about how you got into cycling, and I look forward to seeing you on the next video.